Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Young Adults Hangout at the Upward Church. Can everyone hear me okay? Can everyone hear? You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, thank you. So today we have the awesome privilege of having Seyi and Abisola with us. I have no doubt in my mind that you will be richly blessed today in Jesus' name. And I know that this meeting will be impactful for you in Jesus' name. So we have the privilege of having Seyi and Abisola hanging out with us. You might know them on social media as TheShofs. Beyond social media content creation, they are also serial entrepreneurs, as I found out. So they would be sharing with us some of the lessons that they have learned along the way in their entrepreneurial journeys. They'll be sharing some of those lessons with us. If you would like to ask them questions, please go ahead and can I ask Excel if we are spotlighting them at this time for the streaming audience? Thank you. If you would like to ask them questions, just go to slido.com and use the hashtag Ignite Hangout. Go to slido.com and use the hashtag Ignite Hangout to ask your questions. We'll be receiving those questions live at the end of their brief presentation. So as I said, they're serial entrepreneurs beyond content creation. So without any further ado, please make welcome Seyi and Abisola Shofolayan. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. I guess you got the formal invitation, and then I was like the add-on to the.
Nah, it was more of you. Everybody wanted to say.
But we're so excited and honored that you want to hear our story. We have a lot to share when it comes to entrepreneurship, especially from this guy right here. So I think that the flow of today is we are going to walk you through our journey of how we started with entrepreneurship. What has worked, what hasn't worked, and what lessons we learned along the way. And I think that's it. And just kind of tell you where we are now, what we're still doing and what we're still pushing. And we'll take questions afterwards.
Yeah, and it's going to be more of a conversation. We're not using slides, I think. And I think the other thing is, if questions come in, feel free to put it in the chat. We'll address it or put it in Slido, and I'm sure we'll get access to that also.
Yes, that all sounds good to me. Over to you.
Okay.
Wonderful.
So I'll do an intro and then pass it on to you to do the first one. So when I met Seyi, he was this. He was his mindset was so different from anything I've ever seen before, in the sense that Seyi was always working on something. So it's like, there's this grand idea, and he had like really futuristic ideas that now in 2023, it's like, duh, everyone's doing that, or this is out and that's out. But way back then in 2008, when I met him, these things didn't exist. A lot of these things didn't exist. And he had all these great ideas, and he was actually like taking action to like executing it. And I was a very traditional person in the sense that you go to school and your goal is to get that job that's going to pay you very well, and you're going to settle down, and you're going to come back from work and chill and watch a show and, have dinner, and that's it. So it was kind of interesting to see how much of an influence he's had on me and vice versa. And I think you tap on it as we move along from all of these different things. I'm going to let you start first with the first thing that I remember you working on, which was his arena.
Okay, sounds good. So, just talking a little bit about the entrepreneurship, right? When we met, I was working on this idea, and the idea was called His Arena. And I'm sure you guys must have realized what His Arena stands for, right? It was supposed to be this, think of it as a Christian community builder, right, for churches. And the idea around it was that we all go to churches, we all meet each other in person, back in the days, churches would print out flyouts and give at the end of, every service for you to see the announcements, the upcoming events. But then beyond that, right, they had notifications, they had things that they wanted to share on an ongoing basis. They were sending out emails. And then last part of that was just in terms of community, right? Whether it's in terms of prayer groups, whether in terms of scheduling, whether in terms of paying tithe. I thought all of that could have been done online, because keep in mind, the iPhone came out in like 2007. And this was like 3-4 years down the road, and nothing like that existed. And so I started working on this app called His Arena. It's supposed to be God's arena, right? His Arena, to build a church community builder, essentially, where churches could communicate and build that relationship, maintain that relationship with their congregation. Especially, I mean, I'm sure you guys can think about that. Of course, it makes sense given COVID has happened right now, and we use we all use these tools today. But back in those days, it didn't exist. And so what I was doing at that point was I was trying to, first of all, create a website and then eventually create it as an app. And the idea around that was, just get this content out there. I knew how to build websites from the job I was working. And so let's get this concept out there. Let's get a few churches to start using it. And then depending on how it works, right, I can expand it to more churches. So it was a really exciting project. I worked on it for about a year. But the one challenge I'll say, and this is probably my very first lesson in entrepreneurship for anybody, right? Don't do it alone. Do it with people that can, that have skills that you don't. Because I went to go and learn how to build websites just so I could build the platform. Then I went to start pitching, to churches. And then I went to start, talking to people, doing all the work myself. And while, there's a stage in your business where you do everything yourself, right? If you get other people to, help when you're not as strong, then it helps you move faster. It helps you move forward much faster. And, it can take your business from like 0 to 20 instead of 0 to 1. And so I think for me, one of the challenges eventually is Arena did not end up becoming that platform, because by the time I brought it to churches, right? And, I got a few churches using it. It was just hard to maintain everything alone. And I think that was one challenge I had, right? I was almost like an ideas guy, and I built and tried to execute it. But you don't just need ideas, you also need execution. You need to make sure that you have a team that can build your business around your idea. And it's not sufficient to just have an idea alone if, it can scale. So, I'll say that was one of our first journeys into entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So have a team that's invested in your vision and your mission, right? Because, we'll get to WePick, but yeah, there's that.
So you did not have the, you had to teach yourself coding to build His Arena?
Yes. So then it was a website I started with building. So I taught myself, not full coding, right? But I taught myself the basics of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and a little bit of PHP. I was doing some of that. I was working with a company in New York as a business analyst. But then I started having conversations with developers, started picking things up from them, and then I'll go home and then build it on my own on His Arena. So that's kind of how I learned. And of course, I read on several websites here and there how to just learn about coding. And then I went ahead and I built it out.
Yeah, that's very bold of you.
I mean, keep in mind, this was 2011, I think. So a lot of these no-code tools did not exist. And yeah. I'll say, I didn't necessarily know the right people to build it with. So I just figured I would build it myself.
Mm-hmm. So I remember shortly after that, we got married, and every day I would come back from work and she is working on his idea. And I would just I'm back from work. It's been a long day. I'll get something to eat. I'll sit down and watch TV. And then when it's time to go to bed, I go to bed. And then she watched me and he's like, don't you have another another ambition in life? What else? What else do you want to do? And I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm working. I love my job. It's going great. And what else do you want me to do? And he's like, think of something else, do a training, get busy, do something else. But anyway, long story short, I thought about it and I was like, oh, I love African prints and I love wearing those kind of clothes. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start selling them. And that was literally it. I would say within a couple of months from then, I already had a website running. I had my inventory with me. And I'm a kind of person, when you tell me, once I have that idea, I literally I put in everything in me and I just do it. So I did it.
Real quick.
Yes.
Guess who built the website for that?
Yes, he did the website for me. The business was called TheShofs. And
what did that stand for?
Just like traditional clothes, and it was ready to wear African prints. And I got tailors in Nigeria to make the clothes. I would get them here and then I would sell them, and I hustled hard. I sold online on my website. I sold on Etsy. I also would do like pop-up shows. So anywhere that there was vendors involved in Maryland, I was there. I went to almost all the schools, like whenever they had African events, I was there. I would set up my little table. Whenever they had like festivals, I would take up my tent. Seyi too will come with me. We'll set up and everything. I remember the day I almost passed out when it was like 100 degrees summer weather, and I was pregnant with our first son then. And I was just so dehydrated, and I didn't know I was dehydrated, but we had mounted up the tents and I was selling and people were trying on things. We had a changing station and I was like, Seyi, I'm going to pass out. I'm going to pass out. But I didn't, thankfully. But eventually that business shut down, and I'll tell you why.
But before that, right?
Yes.
You did tell the story about how you went about Maryland looking for tailors to sew locally.
Oh, geez.
Right?
I did try that. And that's part of the reasons why the business eventually shut down. I think that my biggest challenge with it was just dealing with tailors in Nigeria. And if you know anything about that, I wish I can see faces, but I'm sure people who are intimate with Nigeria already know what I mean by that. Like,
and see, just this your clothes. I can fix it for you. I'll just change it this angle.
It was really bad. Like I would say, hey, I want this one style, and I want maybe 20 pieces of this one style, for example. And they would say, oh, Auntie, I just wanted to put variation. And then I put this collar here and then I put this cape here. But I literally want to have one SKU on my website and have different sizes. But now they've altered everything. And sometimes they'll be like, oh, Auntie, the material wasn't enough. And then I got creative with the style, and they just changed up my entire style. So it was just really frustrating dealing with these things that should just be like trivial, basic things that they should know. So I changed up different tailors many times, and I had many kinds of permutations of issues every time I would change them. But now looking back, I would say if I were to,
You even tried to learn how to sew, right?
I did take sewing lessons. Geez, that woman was not, bless her heart, but I took sewing lessons. I actually started to sew. This was when, I don't know if you guys know, but like the Oleku twist thing was reigning, and I would get fabric for like $5 and sell them for like $85. Sometimes I sold them for $160 per piece. And I did make a lot of money. But eventually I shut down the business. And I think that, I think one thing that I would do differently is that I would be, if I really wanted it to grow, I think I could have been more fully invested in it. Like if Nigerian tailors are my frustration, take myself and go to Nigeria and sit down there with them. Like, get this figured out, like, or put on a video call. Whenever you're sewing my clothes, I want to see you. I want to see exactly what you're doing. Like there are ways, if you really, really, really want something to work that badly, you do whatever it takes to make it work. I think I was just, I outgrew it at some point. Do you agree?
I think several things happened. Right?
Yeah.
There was certainly the frustration from Nigerian tailors, but then you just had a baby also after that.
That's true.
And so it was like, that was the last thing on your mind, right? Dealing with a newborn baby, trying to run a business at the same time, a business that was still in the very beginnings of growth.
Yeah.
And then you also had a full-time job too at the same time. And so at that point, it was just a little too much.
That's fair.
You didn't actually shut it down. You put it on pause. You were still making sales.
Yes.
But, without putting more energy into it, gradually died down.
Yeah. That's true. And I really was at an advantage because I got into the market in quote early. So this was way before it's a thing now. Like now it's a thing. But then like getting ready to wear African prints wasn't really a thing. Like there was not really a lot of places to go to get that. So I had that advantage of entering that space early. But I think that there's a lot more I could have done with it, like creating more content. Now content is a thing. Then it really wasn't. Like I was just trying my best to take pictures myself and put it out there, but I could have learned the art of content, even though it wasn't a thing. But imagine if I was telling my story alongside selling this clothes, like the opportunities and the potential for that. But that's in the past now. It did have its term. It was a profitable business while it lasted. And I enjoyed it. I learned so much. Like, I think that for every single experience or every single thing that you do, there's always something to learn in it. And I think I got that out of it. And I think there's also a time to know when, you know, the time for this thing is done and it's time to move on to the next thing. And I felt like that's where I was with it. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for being so open and honest with us. You know, recently I heard Dave Ramsey, he said that, you know, when people talk about his success, at the back of his mind, he says that his success is just him sitting or standing on a pile of failures that people don't see. You know, that any success you see is actually, you know, behind those successes are piles and piles of failure that people may never see and people may never see, but the lessons are hidden in those, you know, failure stories. And so thank you for sharing this with us today. All right, let's keep going.
There's so many others that we are not going to go into. There was the Younger Plenty, there was Affirmativity, there was the Deal Soup. There, like, these are all, you know, internet businesses that I started up after his arena, right? That's a story for another day. But, you know, you're absolutely right. Like, there's a lot of failures, a lot of learnings, a lot of things one tries. And, you know, it may not always be a success, but you will learn something from each and every one of them.
Yeah.
What would you say, like, was the biggest theme that you learned from working on all of those ideas?
So I'd say the biggest thing I learned from a lot of these ideas is go to market as fast as possible. So what do I mean by that, right? It's good to have an idea in your head. It's good to sit down in the corner of your house somewhere and be writing code or doing something in the background. But in the end, right, all of this is based on what you think that customers want. No matter how great the market research is, all it takes is one customer to use the product, and you realize that everything they said when you were researching them is so different from how they're actually using your product, right? And so you want to go to market as fast as possible with any idea you have, because that helps you learn faster or fail faster, right? And what do I mean by that? When I say learn faster, I mean, everybody knows that, but the fail faster part is important, because you don't want to invest a lot of your time, energy, and money on something for a long time, only to go to market and all of a sudden people say, it's a good product, but I don't care for it. Or, I like the product, but I'm not going to pay for it, okay? You don't want any of that. You want to be able to go to market as fast as possible and get that feedback within the first 2 months max, right? If you haven't gone to market by month 3, you're already too late, right? So you want to go to market with your product, get feedback, see how people are using it, see how much people are willing to pay, see if you can build, if people are sharing it with other people. And then not just that, you ask them what needs to change and just look at the data, see what they're doing, right? That's how you can build a successful company, a successful product, a successful business.
Wow.
I like that.
Going to market early.
Yeah.
Someone asked a question.
Oh, okay.
On Slido, someone asked a question because I think, Seyi, you mentioned that not having the right team in place might have been one of the banes of his arena, not having the correct team. So someone asks on Slido, sometimes it feels like it is better to do things yourself, and at the same time, finding time can be difficult. What are your points or advice on building a team?
Oh Lord. So let me bring you to my most recent startup, WePick, which I shut down late last year. WePick was a storytelling app bringing stories from Africans, writers, to the rest of the world, right? So think about Wattpad, think about, Amazon Kindle, where you can read books. The difference being that this was not books, this was short stories written in an interactive format between people, talking. So what happened to WePick, right? WePick was a great idea. People loved it. People actually used it. I went to market fast, right? That was one of the things I tried to do. But people like, okay, so when I brought it to market, I got some writers using it. I got people reading it. I got a lot of good feedback. People were excited about, the new way of writing stories and reading stories. The one challenge with WePick, and this was ultimately what led to me shutting it down, was I built a team, right? I invested my money, a lot of money. At some point, I even left my job to pursue this full time, right? And I built a team. I had engineers, I had marketing staff, I had content staff. They were all working, but then there were part-time resources in Nigeria. So they had their full-time job, and this was just a thing on their side. And the one thing that immediately became apparent to me was that I was putting in everything, and some of my team members were not putting in everything. How do I know? Well, when tasks have to keep taking longer and longer, when deadlines keep getting missed, when I keep saying the same thing for the next 2-3 weeks, and I still don't see results, right? And ultimately, the biggest thing was when we're building the app, and a feature that should take 2 weeks based on my knowledge of engineering ends up taking 2 months. It tells me that this staff is not really committed. They're not putting in everything into it. And as a result, it's not going to, ultimately what that did was it made the company keep going. It made the company not go as fast as it could have gone. Because the important thing to know when you're building a business is this. It's not about even just you building a product and getting it out to customers. It's about you being able to learn fast and improve fast, right? And so we built a product, customers are using it. We had about 4,000 people on the website and app that were writing stories, reading stories, sharing it with their friends. But they had issues. There were bugs that needed to be fixed. There were some issues in terms of just getting it to work. And then I wasn't making money from it, right? I was spending all my salary, but not making, our salary, but we weren't making money from it. And so we wanted to build monetization into the app. But then, we couldn't build all these things. And so at some point, it just couldn't, it couldn't continue as a business, and I shut it down. And ultimately, when I look at it, right, it came to me that I ended up building the wrong team. And now, so to answer this question from Slido, yes, it's important. Like, if you bring people, they will not necessarily do the work the way you want it done. It may not be done with the level of quality you want it done. But in the end, it takes more than one person to build a company, right? There are some types of businesses where one person can build it and run it. But most likely, like, you're just going to be doing it nonstop. You're not going to have a break. If you're trying to build a type of business where it funds your lifestyle and it gives you time to do other things, then you need people. The most important thing, though, is getting the right people. And I'll tell you this from my experience, right? With Izarana, I didn't get anyone. With WePick, I got a lot of people, but they were not the right people. And so when you're building a company, when you're building a business, when you're working on an idea, it's most important to search and really search for that right person. You both have alignment in your vision, right? You both are willing to put in that time, that commitment. You both are really willing to, you're willing to go above and beyond to make it happen, make it work, make it happen. And it's not just, it's just another job for them, right?
Yeah.
You want someone that it's not just another job, but it's not side income, but it's like they're passionate about it. And I admit, right, it can be very hard to find that, right? Not a lot of people very few people will have the level of passion you have, right?
Yeah.
But you want to do your research to find someone that truly believes in that idea and is willing to take it to the next level. And maybe, and so for me, if I was to go back and build WePick, right? If I'm to look for that co-founder, maybe I would have probably started with a writer that was truly passionate about writing and that was connected in the community. I wanted to see African stories really come to the rest of the world. And I would have, come to that person as my partner that this is what we're doing, right? Let's get contacts, let's get published, let's get writers, let's create something exciting. Because the other part of it is success motivates the other people that are not as motivated. So my employees that were not putting in all their effort, assuming they had seen, instead of 4,000 users, they had seen 40,000 users or 100,000 users, all of a sudden that sense of responsibility will come, and then they'll start putting in even more, right? So, there are many things, but I'll say if you want to build something that will last, it's going to be very hard to do it alone. And you want to take time to find people. And the way you find people is you go to places, you tell literally everybody about your idea. don't worry, it's so hard to build a company. Nobody's going to steal your idea, right? It's so hard. I can tell you that for sure. So tell everybody about your idea. Let them know what you're trying to accomplish, and literally ask them, do you know anybody that I can talk to that will, that would even love to chat about it? Don't say that wants to be a partner or a co-founder. Just say anybody in this space, I'd love to chat to them to learn from them. And you'll be surprised how those connections will help you, meet people and find your potential co-founder.
Yeah. So one, I guess, underlining theme from what Abisola has shared was the challenge of either managing expectations of those that you recruited or are working for you in Nigeria. So would you say that, having people within arm's length or within reach that you can, drive to their house, pick up the phone and call them and rub minds with them as needed is quite important. And in addition to that, I guess this probably depends on the type of business or service you are rendering. Who would you say is the most important, first hire in a business? If you wanted to start Whippic again, for example, you said that, you probably want to hire a writer who is also passionate about getting African stories out there. If you wanted to start Is Arena again, probably you will think differently about who that first hire would be, because I think that first hire can be quite, emotional and critical to the success of the product.
Yeah, so if I was to start His Arena again, right, I would have hired like an engineer to help me build a product, because that was the problem with that. I didn't have the engineering talent. I was just the one doing it all. If I was to start Whippic again, I'll actually have gone the business route. I'll not even have bothered about engineering, right? I'll not have even tried to build an app and a website or paid staff for that. In fact, I would have used no-code tools like Bumble and all the no-code tools. You can literally, in the span of a week, build a proof of concept of your idea and get it out to market. And so my first, I won't even say hire per se, but my first partner or potential co-founder would either have been a marketing person that really understands content, or a content person that is so well connected in the industry. Now, in the age of TikTok, I'll even hire anybody or start anything, right? I'll literally get the stories and then act out the stories myself and then post it on TikTok and then wait to see if people are interested in it, right? If people are interested in it, if I develop a following, then it tells me two things. It tells me the content is good, right? And it tells me the delivery is good. And so what then I'll do is I'll say, okay, if you want to, if you're more of the stories, we also have an app. And so now I'm funneling consumers that enjoy the content to a product, right? I'm validating the business through a free platform called TikTok and my content, and then using that to funnel them to the product, and then converting the product itself to a business itself. So that's kind of how I'll do it if I was to do it again.
Yeah, I want us to get through a few more of your, a few other questions have come in, but how about we talk about Yanga Plenty? What's that?
Okay. Yanga Plenty. So this was in 2012. 12 or 13. No, it was 2013. Okay, yes, I remember. So when Abisola was doing Transloft and coming up with all these beautiful styles, I was like, wait, these are amazing styles. How can we sell them more? You know what? People that wear this outfit, they like doing Yanga, they like to show off. Ooh, Yanga Plenty, that would be a great idea. And so what I do, I created a platform. But the key for me, what I was trying to accomplish was, let's say I created an Instagram for fashion. But it wasn't just about people posting their beautiful fashion clothes and all of that. The idea I was trying to really build was, if I post my outfit online, you can click on my outfit, see where it comes from, and immediately buy it right there. And, about 7 years later, Instagram built Instagram shopping, and, you could do that. But eventually they shut it down. Yeah, there's likely to know it now. But, that's what I was building. Once again, at that time, I didn't have engineers, and so I built the website myself. I actually went to like some Ghanaian conference in the DMV where students were, got up on stage, demoed it. Okay, guys, let me take a picture of you. I took a picture of them. I uploaded it to the website. They were like, "Ooh, I was like, I mean, it's pretty basic, but I guess to me it was basic because I understood engineering. To them, it was like, wow, that's amazing. And then right there, I was like, okay, tagging it. Okay, this product was from here, this product was from here. And so anybody that went on that website could have literally bought the product that they were interested in right there and then.
And to give you guys context, this was way before any of this thing. Like now it's a thing. Like now you can see people tag stuff, tag clothes, tag brands, tag, directly to the shopping page. But then this did not exist. So this was a big deal then.
All right. So it looks like Seyi is always living in the future.
Yes.
What's the future you are seeing now? What's the thing that has not come out that is already in your mind these days?
If I tell you that one, okay, let me drop one small thing. I mean, I won't say it's the future anymore because you guys see it, but think about all the different problems we have, right? Like I'm trying to write an email. Literally, AI helps you with a lot of those right now. So I'll say figuring out how to apply artificial intelligence to mundane tasks is where the future is, at least in the next 5 years. I create a video, I don't want to edit it. You can feed AI some good videos and say, edit this full video and come up with an output that tells this story, and it will be able to do that in the near future, right? Because like for us, video editing is a lot of work. It's so much time, so much energy. At some point, I just said I'm not doing it anymore. We hired an editor in Nigeria. This one, I'm really managing it so that I don't have the repeat experience that, yeah. But those are the kinds of things I'm talking about. That think about how anything that takes you more than 5 minutes, think AI can probably solve it, right? So think about that. You'll see opportunities there.
Good. So use ChatGPT and all the other AI tools out there.
Yep. Definitely get familiar with them because then you'll start seeing opportunities.
Yeah. The Share Joy Company.
Okay, the Share Joy Company, it's now it's an Etsy shop, but then I did have a website. I had a Shopify website where I sold the core products was shea butters. So I sold shea butters. I made the ones for the skin, the ones for the hair. I had hair oils, just all these kind of like beauty products. And the goal was for me to have a side income. I said, hey, if my company says, Abisola, we don't want you anymore, at least I have something. It doesn't have to replace my income, but at least I know that we're not going to go hungry and, there's something to eat. And I started that within the span of like a month. I got the idea and it was out. Like I was literally selling like the next month. I already made them at home anyway for my kids, and I use it for myself. And so it was just more of like creating labels and buying containers and things like that.
So let's explain exactly what you did, because it's not just shea butter, right? So you bought the shea butter from, I don't know, you bought from the supplier. And once the shea butter came, she whipped the shea butter, like looked up all the ways to make shea butter in different fragrances. You whipped it, we whipped it with the oils, you whipped it with the fragrances, you got the right texture. That was a journey, because you didn't like, first of all, it was lumpy, and finally it was too hard. Eventually you got the very consistent whipped texture, which was like, multiple hours, multiple days and weeks of work. But even when you were trying to figure out the texture, you were already selling.
I was selling, right? We were selling.
And the thing was, our customers were like, wow, this is softer than anything else out there. It wasn't soft to our standards, but it was softer than what people were used to, right?
Yeah.
So no, just wanted to make sure you didn't skip over that.
Yeah, so I did, and it started to do very well every single day, especially as a new business person. I have a great community of friends that are very supportive. So every single day, like I would get orders, and that started to grow. And then I thought, you know what, if I'm getting orders like this frequently, maybe there's potential here, and maybe I can blow this up more to become more than just a side gig. And so I invested my time in learning like Facebook ads and thinking, you know what, if I can funnel this through Facebook ads, I can potentially make like a whole lot more sale and figure out how to scale this and maybe be in stores and things like that. I invested time. I learned a lot, which I can tell you all of the theories about how Facebook ads work, but it didn't actually actualize into, I was spending too much to get the sales, and I wasn't ready to do all of the various permutations of things that could make it work. It's a lot of trial and error. If you know anything about Facebook ads, a lot of testing So you test, first of all, you're testing the ad creative. What is working? Is it the video? Is the picture nice? Is the video nice? Is it attractive? Are people even looking and clicking and liking? So that's step one. And if they are they clicking to go onto your website, right? So it's like all these different things could be wrong. So it could be that, oh, maybe the reason that they're not clicking is the picture doesn't even look good. And so now you're starting your test again. You're going back to the ground, you're taking new photos. And then if they're, your picture works and they're going to your website and they're not placing an order, now you're asking the question is, does my website even does it look shady? If you don't know the brand name. So it's all these different things you're thinking about. Or is it shipping costs? And then, you can test for a period of time where you say, oh, it's free shipping. Or is it too expensive? So you test where you change your prices. It's just all these different things that you're testing and changing. And it's costing time and it's costing money. And at some point I said, you know what, screw this. I'm not going to do this again. I'm just going to keep it as a side gig and be content with it because I do enjoy doing it. And so, and one thing I realized was, I think that now looking back, I think that my ad creatives were strong. I think that my website was great. I think my prices were very reasonable because I did do my research. I just think that the thing itself, the product itself that I was selling was just an oversaturated products. Like everybody and their sister and grandmother makes whipped shea butter. It's just too common. The barriers to entry is minimal. I literally started within like a couple of weeks of getting the idea. So I think if looking back, if I were to start over, like I wouldn't start the business from scratch, now, but I already have it going. So I still just keep it going.
And you still keep making a lot of sales, right?
I do. But let's say one thing though, the reason that I do make a lot of sales, most of my sales, I mean, I do sell like the one top here, one top there, but most of my sales don't come from that. I think and this is something that you can apply to anything you're doing, is thinking out of the box. Is what can I do that my other fellow shea butter sisters are not doing? And I was like, you know what, maybe, for people who are having like little like baby showers or bridal showers or weddings that want to give away little favors, they could use this. So I rebranded. I have like, my shea butter for, I want to use this at home. And I have my shea butter for, I'm having a wedding and I want to, use these for favors. And I just had like 3 of those other orders in the past week. And I had made like over $600-800 from those orders, versus if I was selling like tub by tub, that would take me like selling probably, I don't know how many to get that much money. Yeah. So yes, I have listings on my Etsy shop where you could buy like 700 shea butters, like the teeny little ones. And it has a cute little flowers on it that says, Jane and Joe are getting married, in September, and thank you for coming to our wedding. And I sell those teeny little tubs for almost $5 for a tiny little shea butter cup, but they're cute. And everybody has like this emotional spending thing going on when they're having a baby or when they're getting married. And so that's what worked for me. And that's what I've kept going. And
yeah.
Let
me give you a tip, by the way. If you ever want to get into any industry and make money, just go into the wedding industry. You'll never be broke. People spend.
Yes, it's definitely one industry where people spend without thinking. Like it's my wedding and I've always wanted this. And they'll spend anything that you call.
All right. Thank you. We have another question from Slido. And I think it's a very good one. He says, how important was demand on the timing of when you started the clothing business? Also, did you pray before you started and before you closed? How was that? That is, how do you make the decision on when to put the plugs on some of these enterprise? Did you pray, and how was that? How are those? What was the decision-making process?
Yeah, demand, I would say, I strongly believe that demand was there. Like the whole African thing now, then started, that was when it started to trend. Like the whole, and then what was the thing that made people, was it the, what was the thing that happened that a lot of people were like literally searching for African clothes. Like that was just like a thing. Like everybody wanted to feel connected to their culture. The African Americans just really wanted, it was a thing. Like there was demand for it, no doubt. And there was not a lot of supply then. Now there is. So yes, in that answers that part of the question. Did I pray about it? Yes, I did feel at peace to go ahead with it. And like I said, I learned so much from it, like, than I just can't I can't disqualify that experience. Like that experience was impactful for me. I always learn things from stuff, like regardless of, like the other day I was telling him I went for a baby shower and I emceed the baby shower. I was like, would I do it again? No, but it was just like, it was a great learning experience for me, like meeting all these people and networking with people. And I would, I don't think that it was a waste of my time. It was great, but, it's not the path that I want to go down. So yes, I always definitely praying about things before I go into it. And I think that at some point, I don't rush to close out on things, but I know when it's the right time. I think something just kind of tells you it's time. And if you don't feel that sense of guilt as well, like when you're like, okay, I'm done with this. And that's why I think I still have the Shea Joy company, is I haven't gotten to that point where I don't think I need to do it. But I think I haven't gotten to that point where I'm like, let me let this go entirely. At least I haven't gotten that go ahead from God yet. And I don't know why that is, but I still kind of enjoy, like when I get these wedding orders or the baby shower orders, like something in me is just like, wow, like I'm a part of this person's wedding. Like I'm providing something to them. And I really thoroughly, like, I find it to be a blessing for me personally. So hope that answers the question.
And I guess let me add on my side, in terms of mine, deciding when to close down, I'll say it's usually a lot, because a lot of my ideas are like some of those futuristic tech ideas. It's usually been more just based on the market decisions, the business decisions, and the costs, right? Because in the end, you can't keep spending on a business that's not growing or that's not generating revenue. Now, would I, like, the one that I'll say pained me the most in terms of shutting down was Whipic. And because I invested every single thing into it, and it was actually doing well, it just could not. I mean, I left my job for 15 months to run it, right? And after a while, your wallet starts to go dry. But also I looked at it and determined what was necessary to make it successful. And I think I realized I didn't necessarily have that, because by the time I did that assessment, it was literally almost like I'll start all over again. And I think I just lost the energy, right? I still have the passion and enthusiasm, but I just lost the energy. And for me, I still see it as something I'm going to come back and build, like, because I still think African stories need to be told. A lot of us don't know our history, right? But maybe then was not the right time. The format I was doing it was not the right way. The people I was doing it were not the right people. And I can't discount that, right? And that's why ultimately I decided to shut it down. I saved all the data. I still have the database available, such that once when it's time, I'll return with the content, right? But for now, it's on an indefinite pause. Is that the way I would say it?
Yeah. All right. I know I still want us to talk about affritivity. But there's a question that just came in. And I want us to take this one, and it's around the inertia of starting. When you ask many people, not many people would disagree with you that you cannot get wealthy with a 9-to-5, with trading your time for money. Most people will agree that. Seyi does not agree. All right.
Well, interestingly, I used to have that thought, but I've also come to realize that that's not 100% correct, because I also do know that, like, for me, right, I'm a principal product manager at Walmart, but I know if I wasn't doing all my startup things and pushing it, there's nothing preventing me from being a VP at Walmart right now, right? And that's because I didn't necessarily have the time to put in all my energy into my work. I was putting in all my extra energy into, the business ideas that I have. And if you're a VP at Walmart, right, I'm pretty sure you'll be making at least $500,000 with stock options of about $250,000 a year, something like that. By the time you're doing that, right, you have a cushion that is, I'll say you'll be upper middle class. You may not be like wealthy and rich, but you'll be very comfortable. And then if you take that money and then you invest it in things like real estate, you invest it in stocks that, hopefully grow, when not like with how the stock market is, then you can truly build wealth for yourself. But
that's the key, though. You're using your 9-to-5 as a foundation to build onto something else. I think just being comfortable with that 9-to-5 and not doing anything else with it.
But I guess the point I'm trying to make is, there are people that are not entrepreneurially driven, and it's important for those people then to say, well, if I want to build wealth from my 9-to-5, let me put all that I have into my 9-to-5 and be the best that I can be. Because in the Bible, it's your favorite passage. In everything you do, do it as you're doing it unto God, right? Don't just take your 9 to 5 and say, oh yeah, it's just another job. It's just paying the bills. Someone else is a VP, someone else is a CEO. Why is that not you, right? And I think it's important, even though I am entrepreneurial driven, and I came to the realization much early that I don't necessarily care to go up the corporate ladder because I want to pursue my creative ideas. But now that I've taken a break from WIPIC, I've come back to 9 to 5, and I'm now in the position where I'm like, well, I'm going to put my very best, right, to hit that next level. Because I know, I mean, I'm already in the works of doing something else, don't worry. But in the time that I'm at Walmart and I'm building out everything there, I'm putting in my best so that I can I want to show good results where I am. But I also know that if I stay there for the next, say, 5 years, there's nothing that me being a senior director is guaranteed, right? Me potentially being a VP, that's a stretch, but senior director is guaranteed. And so I think you can get wealthy from your 9 to 5. It just takes much longer, and you're going to sacrifice so much of your time to build someone else's dreams. That's just, I'll take the caveat.
Exactly.
And God's grace, because you can have a boss that just keeps pushing you down.
Yeah.
Live the job.
Yeah. I mean, so I've observed those who are in those the strata of senior directors and VPs. They have difficult jobs, and they don't. I mean, the responsibilities they have, managing budgets, managing people. These are real things that keep them up at night. So it may not be that may not be the kind of wealth you want to build. It may be the kind of wealth that you're able to spend a lot of time with your family. You're not having a lot of headache. You're not managing payroll, managing HR, managing conflicts at work. Yeah. So if that's like the goal, and someone has described the 9 to 5 as the golden handcuffs, right? That it really prevents you from taking a leap into entrepreneurship. So the question is, how do you overcome that inertia of starting? How do you overcome that inertia? You have this 9 to 5, it pays the bills, but you kind of know that you are built for something more. You can do more elsewhere. You can do more, you can do better on your own. But there's this 9 to 5 that pays the bills. You're happy there. You are trading your time for money. How do you overcome that inertia of getting started and launching out? Yeah, I know. I know, because someone has just done it.
Yeah, you just start. That's literally all you have to do. You don't overthink it. Every single thing that I've started, I just started. What we're doing now with the TheShofs, it started from a blog that I was on maternity leave, and I was like, I started a blog. and I did.
You were writing.
I was writing.
Oh, yeah. You were writing in your journal, and it was like, why are you not publishing this online?
And he was like, yeah, you should publish it online. I was like, you think people will read it? He was like, yeah. I was like, okay. So we're starting a blog then. And I did. And I did that for like a couple, you just start. You don't even care. Don't think about, is this going to be successful? Where's this going to go in 2 years? How much time is it going to cost me? You figure it out. So you just start and you just keep going. And the one thing that you learn is you keep learning as you go, and you keep evolving as you go, and you keep making those adjustments that you need. You're not going to figure it all out on the day that you start. The day that I started the shea butter was not when I thought, oh, let me make shea butters for weddings. I just started and I realized, everybody else is selling this. Let me try to cater to those who want to, have weddings. And that's exactly what happened with the blog. I just started, and here we are a few years later.
And I'll add to that, right? As you mentioned, 9 to 5 is that golden handcuffs, but it's also, the key is literally right in front of you. The way and I get it, right? It's very hard to say no to a good salary and leave that good salary. But when you're studying, nobody's asking you to leave your job to start a business, right? I was building WIPIC for like 1.5 years before I left my job for another 15 months, right? It wasn't on day one when I had the idea that I left. I built it with my spare time. I got it up and running. I got users. I actually pitched to some investors, got some investment before I eventually decided to leave my job and push it full time. But the way I see it is this: when you're at your 9 to 5, right? And I think your goal should be to build your savings enough to be able to last you for a period of time when you decide to fully leave your job, right? So what does that mean? Once again, when you're at your job, put in everything to learn as much as possible. Because how did I learn to code? It was through talking through my job, right? how did I learn everything about tech? It was through my job. It wasn't through school. So put in everything you have into your job, learn as much as possible in your job. But also, if you have dreams to start your business, this is not the time to be flying to Morocco or Dubai and then getting a BMW on a loan and all of that. Those things will come eventually, but save your money, because when you then decide, okay, I'm going to go fully into my business, you want to have a huge nest, right? I was able to go fully into Whippig because first, I'm married and we have an extra income in the house. But then secondly, we had made some investments and then we had saved a lot of money. And so it was like, okay, well, can we afford to live on a single income for 1 year? It'll be tough, but yes, let's do it. Because she had seen me, put in countless days, countless hours, months, years into it. And it was like, okay, I really believe I can take it to the next level. Unfortunately, it didn't become that big success that I had hoped. But the things I learned from it, I've been coaching startups, right? The people I met when I was building Whippig, I made investments in their company. Some of their companies are starting to look juicy. And I'm like, thank you, Jesus, that you brought me here, right? Those kinds of things. But I'll never have known any of this if I was just waiting for that perfect moment. And so how do you make that decision? Well, no, nobody's asking you to make that decision. Don't leave your job. Stay at your job. When you come back home, don't watch Netflix, right? Work on something for like just 2 hours. 2 hours. Many times I'll go to bed at like 1 a.m.
You don't want to know.
5 a.m. again. And I'm working on this thing, having meetings with people in Nigeria, like those types of things. It's a sacrifice that you need to make because you have a dream that you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I think if you want something so bad, you kind of have to. I don't think there's a way around it, because a full-time job in itself is full-time. So doing anything else in addition to that is a sacrifice, and let's not even act like it's not a lot of work. But I think like having in mind that it's not going to last forever. You're not going to hustle that hard for forever. It's for a period of time. And the goal is ultimately, I'm going to have, in quote, my freedom. So you just got to do what it takes to get to that point.
Thank you. Do you want to talk about affectivity, or you want me to take another question?
I'll do that in like 30 seconds, right? Yeah. It's all part of that, so it was really this was around when Eventbrite was coming out. And so I was like, well, there's so many events happening. How do we get people to know about this event, attend this event, pay for this event online? And so that was what affectivity was about, but it was supposed to be, African events. I started working on it. The mistake then was, once again, I started building out a product, but then for that, I quickly realized, you know what? I'm not very connected in this industry. I'm not really an outgoing person that attends so many events. So there's no point building a business like this. And so I decided to move away from that to something else. Because in the end, you can't build a business that is contrary to your personality.
Wow. I think you need to talk about that a little bit more. That is, you are the lifeblood of the business. So the business is in a lot of ways a reflection of your personality.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit more? If you're an introvert, you're building a business that requires you, for its success, to be out there, to be outgoing, to be attending parties. It's kind of
perfect example. If I go to a networking event, if I find that one person I'm talking to, that's that one person I'll talk to throughout, right? Whereas she'll go to an event and like, oh, hey, she'll be hugging babies, kissing babies, everyone, like that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Affectivity was supposed to be like an events business. And, for you to even get events, you need to be connected in the industry, right? And in the end, I just realized it wasn't me. But, to that point, the most successful events start from people's passions or people's problems, right? So I have a problem, like take the Shea Joy, right? Even though you haven't built it into that big business, you needed something good for your kids' skin. And so you created a product for their skin. And, it was good and it was perfect. You use it yourself. And then you were like, well, I can sell it online also, right? Affectivity, as I said, I wasn't an outgoing person, so that's it. But ultimately, back to the point, whatever you decide to do, the fact is there's so many business ideas, business opportunities out there. There's so many problems to be solved, right? There's so many things that can be done. And the way you find those things is saying, first, it's a mixture of what passion do I have? What problem do people have? And can I, if by applying my passion to people's problem, can I make money out of it? If you can, you have a business, right? But if it's like people have a problem, but you don't really have a passion for that problem, yes, you can do it. But honestly, you will not be as creative. You'll not find ways to really push it to what it can be, because it's not what you wake up and you're happy to talk about. Like with WePick, for example, I really love storytelling. I wasn't just building the app. I was writing stories, right? I was acting skits to put the stories out on Instagram. I was doing a lot of things just because it was my interest, it was my passion. It was a creative outlet for me.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the thing, right? If you want to start a business, don't just say, oh, everybody's doing makeup, let me go do makeup. Or, oh, everybody is doing event balloon, let me do event balloon. I can't do event balloon. I'm not creative in terms of decorating a hall. So I'll never go into that type of business, even though it's very lucrative. I'm not creative in terms of like hosting people. So I'll never be an MC. Like the thing she said she did for the baby shower, I'll never do that, right? Because that's not my style that's not who I am. And so it's not a fit for me. Yeah. And so, if you want to start a business, like just start solving problems where your passion lie, and you'll find out that you have a business very quickly.
Awesome. All right. Let's talk about Simple Naija Girl, and maybe talk about the TheShofs brand as well.
All wrapped into that. Yeah. Okay. I'll be very quick with this. So Simple Naija Girl was a blog that I had. And I wrote funny stories, at least that's what people would describe it as, but underlying all those funny stories was a message that I wanted to pass across. A lot of those messages were me shaking tables that needed to be shaken.
Example of one table.
Exactly.
You have to give an example.
Give us an example.
How, like, I think there was one of divorce, right?
Oh,
where ladies are in relationships where they're being emotionally abused, not even the physical, right? The physical is a no-brainer. You need to step away for your safety, but even emotional abuse, right? Like, why? You shook some tables around that, identifying it's not normal. These are steps you can take. Go to therapy, but if after that things are not working, like,
yeah,
you shook some tables.
Yeah, I did shake some tables, and I always, every time I put out a blog post, I'm getting a message from one auntie, Bisola, boss, you should think about it this way. I'm like, trust me, I have thought a lot about those topics. But anyway, I wrote those things, but I will wrap it all in humor such that you don't even know by the time you finish reading the whole thing. And I started to do that, and I had an Instagram page, or I have an Instagram page where I would push my blog post on there. So I'll say, hey, I just wrote a blog post, go read it on my blog. And in that page, at some point, I invited this one. We did one TikTok dance during the pandemic. And then everyone's commenting, oh my gosh, this is so cute. And like, we got all this great engagement on the post. And I was like, okay, do you want to dance again? Because people like this. So I think it took like another couple of months for him to come back and dance again. And the engagement was there again. Everyone was commenting. And slowly and surely, I started to drag him in, or he started to get interested as well. Don't even lie, you were interested as well. And that's how we started to put in. So that's how it became a thing. So eventually my page, which was for my blog, was now converted to TheShofs, which is the page that you probably know now. And we started to be more intentional about and strategic about the kind of content that we're putting out there, the kind of storytelling that we're putting out there. And long story short, I have now left my full-time job to now just push this full-time. And God has been really gracious to us in the doors that have been opened through, in quote, TheShofs. So yeah.
For example, today she just had a speaking engagement in DC with like about 20 successful women. And this isn't just like, some of them have the leading makeup brand in Nigeria. Some of them, one of them was on Shark Tank yesterday night. If you watch Shark Tank, Sweet Kiwi, right? One of them is, tell them.
It's acting like he was at the brunch I just came from. But no, it was just like, I sat down there and I was just like, wow, how am I in this space right now? Like, just women talking about things that they've done. There was this real estate guru. She's not the CEO, but like the C whatever, see something in the company, this real estate company. And just imagine, right? The mastermind that she has, and just listening to her speak with so much passion.
You know what's interesting though? all of that, her being, even knowing about the event, not to talk about being invited as a speaker, all that would never have happened if she never just put out the first blog post, right? Because keep in mind, everybody's seen the shows, so now we're dancing, and she begged me for like 3-4 months to come on her page, but that's a different story. All of that started from her, just writing her ideas, her thoughts on a journal, and then finally publishing it online. Yeah. And then she never thought it would go from a blog to this, right? In fact, it took you about 7 years to get your first 1,000 followers, right?
7 years?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it took me a while. Yeah, it took me a while.
It's not like she was trying to grow followers, but it was literally, I'm just doing this one thing and it becomes this, and then it keeps growing and keeps evolving. And now, right? And then in terms of leaving your job, for example, it's not a decision you would have ever thought. Like, to tell you how much we never thought we'll be on social media. When we got married, our videographer sent our wedding video and pictures to Bella Niger, and then they published it on their website. And we were sending him text message and email like, no, we didn't approve this. We're very private. We don't want anything about us to be online. Right? That's literally how.
That's funny, right? Yeah.
We're the ones doing all these things, right? So it just kind of goes to show you where you may never think of yourself as this, right? But you start here and then you keep evolving, you keep learning. Oh, even let me make it to make the story sweeter. The Abisola you see now is not the Abisola that I married.
No.
She was a very shy, very private, very quiet person.
Yes.
Right. Even her first job that she got, she was like, who will ever want to hire me to do this job? She didn't even apply to the job. I wrote a cover letter that night. I emailed her resume. When she got the interview, FYI, I know nothing about her industry. Assuming ChatGPT was there, I would have used it for the cover letter. So I literally BS'd everything. And then they called her for an interview, and then she was so shaky. And eventually she got the job. And she was like, there's no reason. She didn't even expect they'll give her the job. She was like, oh, they even offered me the job. And then they called her for the job and they offered her like a horrible salary. I was like, no, don't take that salary. Go take the second offer. Use this offer to negotiate this offer, to do this. She got the money. She got the increase, all of that, right? And then she was still so quiet in her company. She never spoke to people. I was the one pushing her to go and talk to every single person. And then gradually she started doing that, gradually started going out. And once again, even though we're talking about entrepreneurship, right? That's why I keep going back to 9 to 5.
Yes.
Because think 9 to 5 is your training ground.
Yes.
You learn how to be professional. You learn, you build skills. And guess what? They're paying you on top of that.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? That's a dream come true, right?
I 100% agree with you. I do not think that, I don't think TheShofs would exist if I didn't go through, in quote, the training ground of 9 to 5. The person that I was walking into Impact International in 2013, 2012, is an entirely different person that walks out like 10 years later working at that job. I grew so much to the point where like I literally would be head down, afraid to talk in meetings, and I would have an idea. I want to say something. And if someone else, maybe Peter Morrison down the across from me,
a true person
would say that thing, I'm like, oof, thank God, now they know it. I don't have to say it. I don't have to worry myself about it. And I grew and evolved so much from that person into the person who I want to lead this meeting. I have these ideas, I'm calling this meeting, and you have to listen to what Abisola Shof has to say. And I grew to that person where once any African walks into the doors of my company, you are my mentee. You're coming under my wings. I'm talking to you. I don't care how old you are. I don't care where you're from. You're African. You are going into my training ground, and you are going to be confident, and you are going to be promoted because you're going to be bold, and you're just not going to be the person that I was a few years ago. And it took me so long to get my first promotion at that company. And
then we eventually had to leave. You had to leave that company to go to another company.
Yes, I left. And by the time I came back, I was my boss's boss's boss. I literally came back above everybody. And I was like, I don't care, because I'm a different person now. Like I've evolved and grown, and it's just who I am. You either want me and take me as this person who has evolved into who I am now, or I go to work for the next competitor or who wants me. Like, I believe I'm hot cake, and that's just what it is. Like, so I've grown so much. Like the very first video that he tried to do of me when I was doing the blog, I was literally physically shaking in that video because I just was afraid to talk. And this is me now. And, just thinking about how gracious God has been, like within the past month, the kind of brands that we've signed deals with are people like I literally would never even think would happen.
Yeah.
We're talking Walmart, we're talking Geico, we're talking P&G, we're talking what's the Nature's Bounty. Like these are brands that we literally have in the day and we use in our houses and we use every single day. And I'm thinking, from where to where did this happen? But if I never started that one little blog, I'm calling it little, and just kind of evolving as things go, right? People are no longer reading. Well, what can I do? People are watching videos. So let me make videos with the same content and just put it out there and constantly evolve and reevaluate my content.
Yeah.
Wow. You said 9 to 5. Hello.
Say hi.
Hi. Yeah. So one thing you said 9 to 5 can be your training ground. And I think that's very true. That is, even if you have entrepreneurial ambitions, whatever your hands find to do it well, and it can really be your training ground. I think that is so true. And you also have just highlighted the importance of having a very supportive partner. Another question came in. It is, how important were family or friend support in helping boom your business? Or is it better to try and focus efforts on pushing a business to strangers? I think that's a very relevant question to those of us who are in the African community. You might have this idea, you might have this thing you want to do, but you just don't want people in your community to know about it, maybe because you're not sure about how they will receive it, or how folks in your community would receive it, and you really want to just focus on strangers, people who are far away, people who cannot immediately connect to you. How do you think about that? Or do you just need to focus on those who are in your community at first?
Yes,
You're looking at me. I would say, Mimi, don't touch that. Okay. I would say that if you have friends and family, leverage them. Everyone needs to know about what you're doing, and you have to blow your trumpet the loudest. And so I'm blowing it to everyone. It's now your choice whether or not you want to support me or you don't want to support me. But I don't care. I don't care what your response is or how you're responding, but I'm telling everyone I know about what I'm doing. Hey, I'm selling shea butter. Do you want to buy or you don't want to buy? Here's a sample. When I started, I gave everybody samples. Try it out. And then, if you like it, you buy more, you recommend your people. People would send referrals to other people. And if they don't, that's fine. The worst that would happen is you get a no. So I say, don't worry too much about what people think. With my influencer thing, I'm telling everybody, like literally everybody, my kids' school, all the parents know that I'm an influencer. I'm like, hey, I create content online, and that's what I do. And they're like, oh, let me follow you. And even if they don't follow, it doesn't take anything out of me. But that's what I do. I'm not ashamed of it. I am proud of what I do. Even from the days when I had 900 followers, like Seyi said, I'm like, hey, I write a blog and I send the links to people. If you want to read it, I don't bombard them with it, but people can let them have that choice to say no, but at least let them know what you're doing.
Yeah. To add to that. So, in terms of friends and family, there are two ways to think about it, right? Now, for my types of business, but in general, I'll say any type of business, family will also always say, oh, it's a good idea. I love it, this and that. But in the end, if you're building a tech business, don't use family as your customer research. That's what I'll say, because they'll always tell you it's a good idea, right? But in the end, for that kind of business, you want to go outside and, get feedback. Now, if family uses it, then that's great, because then it tells you that people that know you actually find it interesting, right? In fact, if they're willing to pay for it or they're begging you for discounts, then you have gold on your hands, right? That kind of thing. But then the other reason why you need to tell family about what you're doing is, my investment for WePick, the initial investment I got, before I got some external investors, my first check was from a family member, right? And they saw what I was doing, they saw what we were believing in, they gave that check, and they gave me that courage to now be able to go to external investors and pitch to them. But then if you never really tell them, right, then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, because when you think about it, the best way to build a business is with your inner community before you go to the outer community, and much broader than that, right? And even in the startup world, you always have to find a niche customer, right? So find someone that has a problem. If that person is family, definitely start from there. If that person is not family, then ask family to just tell you anybody that they know that has that problem.
Thank you. Another question. I'm a high school student with more free time to work on a small clothing brand I started this year. How can I reach out to different people with my business?
So you're a high school student. I'll say you're in the best time of your life, right? You're free. You don't have bills.
That's amazing.
You don't have responsibilities. And for you to already be thinking about a business, kudos to you, like big props rather. Now, that said, you're working on a clothing brand. Well, I'll say this one, then I'll definitely let you say something. I would say if you're the one doing the designs or you're creating the outfits, right? Literally show it to everybody. Do you know why? Because for the fact that you're young, that's your greatest asset. You being young opens doors to you. They're like, wow, you created this at this your age. Good job. Let me connect you to this person and that person, right? So literally, I think you should literally walk up to everybody you can meet and say, hey, I create styles. I'd love to get your feedback on this. Is this something you'd like? Don't even try to pressure them to buy. That's not the thing, right? Because no matter how much you sell, like in like 5 years, you're probably not, that money will mean nothing to you. The most important thing you want to do is show them your passion and let them open doors for you.
I would say that we're in the era of TikTok and it is effective. And if you're young, go and learn how to create content and go and learn how to tell your story. It's not the t-shirts that will sell. I mean, yes, if you have a great t-shirt, it will sell, but it's the story that you're telling behind the t-shirt. Yo, guys, guess what? I've been working on this design and these are the 5 different iterations that I've been through. Which one do you think is the best? Or guess what, guys? I'm a high school student. I got up at 2:00 today and I'm going to talk to my very first client. I'm walking into the store. What do you think they will say? Come with me along the journey. Like, just tell your story, whatever it is. Stories on TikTok, they sell like crazy. If the first video doesn't do well, keep on creating up until you get to the 1,000th video. Because why? You're young and you have time, and just keep doing it. Tell your story. I promise you, like, it's gonna sell for sure.
There are many ways. Here's what I'll say: your entire life is content. We're in the era where the things that happen in the innermost parts of your life, you can share them. You don't share too much, but I'm talking like from a business perspective, right? You can be thinking that, oh, sourcing fabric is boring, nobody cares for that. But a lot of people actually want to know how their outfits are made. Yes. Where do you get the fabric? How did you sew it? How did you come up with the design? Your job there is to figure out, okay, these are all the things I'm doing. Let me just record a snippet here, a snippet here, a snippet here. I join them together. I do a voiceover. Then I say, guys, what do you think? Here's how it looks on me. That kind of thing. Leave them with a call to action. Let me know what you think. If it's on TikTok, don't try to sell. No, but people hate being sold on TikTok.
Tell your story.
Rather, it's about storytelling.
Yeah, and I think that the content, we're content creators, so that's the angle from which I'm gonna talk to you. Yeah. But the content that performs the best is either one that is educational. So it's saying, this is how did you know this is how you make a t-shirt? Did you know this is a process? And you show me and I'm like, wow, I just learned something new, and I hit the like button or I hit the save because I want to come back to see this and see how this works again. It's either it's educational, it's entertaining to me. I just enjoyed it. I laughed, I got a giggle, whatever it is, maybe a nice conversation we had with a customer and it was entertaining, or you do a cute little dance with your t-shirt on, that kind of thing. Or it's providing value. So it's inspirational. It's what, for me as a business person, I will be more prone to listening to your journey as a business person, especially as a high school student. Like, I would watch that, even though I'm not a teenager. I don't know how old high school students are. I'm not a teenager. Okay. So I would watch that because I'm curious as to your journey of, this business entrepreneurial thing that you're doing. So,
yeah, thank you. In the last few minutes we have left, I want you to talk to us about, Seyi made the transition from full-time to WePick for 15 months or 18 months, and then decided to go back. Abisola has now made the transition to full-time, and you are carrying us along on Instagram. What percentage of your income you have been able to replace by going out on this journey? Talk to us about the decision-making process as a family unit, as much as you can share. How did you make those decisions? What were some factors you considered? She had mentioned about saving enough money. What about those who don't have the leeway to save a lot of money at the beginning to step out on their entrepreneurial journey? Just talk to us a little bit about that decision-making process for both of you.
Well, I have my Excel spreadsheet budget that tracks our incomes and expenses. And, we took out my income and tried to see, okay, just there's a budget balance, right? So that's the first thing we did. But, beyond that, I think it's kind of hard to leave an income, because keep in mind, when I left my job, I was working with T-Mobile and I was a senior product manager there. I was making a decent income, right? So it was hard to leave that income and say, okay, I'm going to, not just leave income, but I'll be spending money. Keep in mind, I left, my T-Mobile income. I left the stock options that they gave me at T-Mobile. I left a number of things. When you think about the cost of the health insurance, and you realize it's actually, you get it from your company, but it's actually quite expensive to pay for yourself. So all in all, when I look at how much I left on the table between income and everything that I lost in terms of everything else, it was over $200,000, right? Over the course of 10 months, and the stock options that was lost. But what made me make that decision? I put all my energy, I put all my into this, and I was like, I really do believe it can go to the next level, right? I really do believe that this is the right thing. I wish I had more time. I was spending extra hours to the point where I wasn't sleeping. Maybe that's kind of gross. I was spending extra hours to the point where I wasn't really sleeping like that. And then I think Bisola saw that, and she was like, if you really think you stand a chance to build this into the success that you believe, then it's fine if you want to take that step to actually test it, right? Because in the end, we looked at it. Okay, how old was I? 33, was it? Yeah, let's just say I was 33. I don't remember how old I was exactly. I was 33. Yeah, that's 33. And I was like, okay, well, it's hard to leave your job, but if, God willing, I leave to the point when I'm 80, 90, losing 1 year, really 1 year of income doesn't make such a big difference, right? Especially if it has the potential to transform my life, right? And even if it doesn't transform my life, at least I know I can say, I took this chance for something I truly believed in, and it became something much bigger than I could have, or it didn't work, but at least I took this chance. And guess what? I took this chance, left my job, was building Whippik, but while I was building Whippik, I joined her on that dance just because I was stressed. It was a lot of work one day. After Whippik, I was like, sure, whatever, I'll just do the dance. And so we started the dance. If I was working T-Mobile, I don't know if I would, I don't know if I wouldn't, but it was the stress of Whippik that made me agree to that dance. And gradually, like, TheShofs was born out of that. And so the Whippik I thought would be a success. It's not that success, but now there's something else that now is replacing your income that we'll never have done if it was just a traditional corporate job.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how the decision making worked for us.
Yeah.
I think the practical side of it for anyone who's considering this is, one, you should have, the money to be able to live your daily life, right? So if you're, unfortunately, you don't have the luxury of leaving your job if you don't have a way to pay your rent or your mortgage, or you don't have a way to feed. So I believe in faith, but personally, I would want to make sure that, I have X amounts that can last me up to 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever the case is. So I think for us, we were blessed to have that.
With a lot of decisions we also made, because, we managed our budget consistently for about 5-7 years to build that savings. Correct. We invested in different investments, right? So we were certainly blessed, but we also put common sense. Yeah. And so the way I see it is faith with common sense.
Yes.
Because if you're going to build a house, right, you got to first count the cost.
Exactly. Yeah. But I also think for me, it was not just a financial decision when I left my job. I was working myself to the point that it was not sustainable to keep working. Yeah, my body was literally physically breaking down. I'm still going to appointments for all the different things I have right now.
It's not that bad though.
But I knew it was not sustainable to keep working around the clock that way. I get off work, and some days, how 9 to 5 is, some days you work later because some things are just happening. And then I have my kids, I take care of them. And then at night is when I'm like, okay, let me reply this brand email. Let me edit this video. What's the content we're doing tomorrow? Like, it's just all these things happen at night. Like at night was when I worked on the shows.
When she says at night, think 2 a.m., 3 a.m.
night. And I just it was not sustainable for me. And so for me, I just figured, you know, yes, we have money coming in through the shows, but also for my peace of mind, I just thought that it made sense for me. So it was not just a monetary decision. It was also, I want to be present for them. I also want to be present for myself because life is too short. And there's one more thing I was going to say. Yeah, the thing that he said about if this doesn't work out or if I don't enjoy this and I feel like I like the structure of 9 to 5, 9 to 5 is always there. You know?
Interesting point. When I went back to Walmart, right, I got like a $60,000 pay bump from my prior salary. Now, that's something that if I'd stayed at that job, that bump will not come for like, God knows, nobody gets a 60K pay increase with promotion, right? It takes a very long time to get that. And, you know, there's one part, but the reason they also even hired me as a principal at Walmart was because they were like, wow, you built a company by yourself. You did all these things. Yes, come and lead all our product managers, right? That's, yeah. If I'd never done that, then yeah, I may have eventually made principal, but one, I would have seen that bump. So you probably may have taken longer. And, you know, and ultimately, the way, I'll give you this example. Think Jeff Bezos, he says there are two types of decisions. There are reversible decisions and there are irreversible decisions. For the reversible decisions, right? The decisions that you can make. And, you know, if it doesn't work out, you can just change something and, you know, you undo the damage. Don't take too long to think about them. Don't create like a long spreadsheet with detailed forecast and analysis for a reversible decision. Just make it. On the other hand, for the irreversible decision, those are decisions that if you make and they are wrong, everything like is fundamentally. That's number one irreversible decision. We'll get that's a different conversation. But yeah, I'll touch on that very quick. The irreversible decision, if you marry the wrong person, honestly, the trajectory of your life will go the wrong way for a very long time, but possibly forever, right? And you don't want to be in that situation. But anyways, back to Jeff Bezos. For the irreversible decision, you really, really want to think it very well for a long time to make sure you're thinking and making the right decision. And so now something like leaving your job to pursue your business, it's a reversible decision where you're a single guy without a kid, and that's all you are. It's a semi-irreversible decision when you have a family, right? But then when you have a family and you don't have like a nest, savings and a plan, right? For me, it was reversible because we had already, we had this plan, we had the savings, and I have skills that I'm very employable. If I decide the startup doesn't work, I can go back and easily get a job. And so it was reversible for me, but it didn't become reversible on day one. It was reversible on year 9, right? Year 9 of my working in corporate.
Yeah.
So, that's how you want to think about it when you're making your decisions.
Wow. This has been so insightful, so rich, so impactful. And I can imagine that this would not be the last time we have you come share with us. Final question here. Are there really ideas that are not out there in some way? So this person is just saying, is there any ideas you come up with? Is it just like a riff off something that is already existing, or are there really original ideas?
There's nothing new under the sun. Solomon has said that already. I mean, because here's what I would say. Even the internet, right? Think about it. There was the internet ad competition, the post office, right? I want to send mail to you. Well, I can use the post office. The internet just made it more efficient, right? Right. The telephone, even mobile phones. Like when the iPhone came out, there was the Microsoft Palm Pilot out there. It was also touchscreen, right? And it was doing the same thing the iPhone did. The iPhone just did it better. Okay, Mimi, stop putting your tongue out. That's kind of gross. Go get your computer upstairs. All right. So there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
What you want to do when you're building a business is this. Even though all the ideas exist in one way or the other, there's information asymmetry, which means the thing that somebody here knows, somebody else here doesn't know this. Your job is to find the person that doesn't have access to the solution that exists and either sell that solution to them or build a solution for them, right? Or if there are solutions that exist out there, but are not solving the problems well, they're not solving it well enough, then find a way to solve it better, right? And solving it better it comes in so many ways. There's lower cost, there's higher quality, there's better customer service, there's something that is more experiential, right? It doesn't mean you have to be like literally something new and innovative. I have the problem where I'm always trying to create something new and innovative, but in the end, it's still the same, right? Because church community builder that I was trying to build, yes, the app did not exist, but paper was my competition. Churches giving out paper, churches calling their members. And you can make the argument that by calling my member on the phone, I'm actually building a closer one-on-one relationship with them. So there are always problems to be solved. There are always inefficiencies in the world. Your job is to find a way to solve that problem just a lot better, right, than those that exist today.
Can you argue that you could solve it just differently and it doesn't necessarily have to be better? So for example, one thing that Seyi and I are working on at night is we're creating a game, for a couples game, like an actual physical game that you would play. But there's a lot of games that I don't know if it's a lot, but there's a lot of games. Yeah.
Mimi.
There's a lot of games that exist, but we're solving that problem in a different way, in a way that we can relate with, and in a way that we think that will resonate with others. And I think it's just interesting in a different way. It doesn't mean that it's better than the other games. Well, it's better, but
here's what I would say. Find the person that has a need. Like the need we're solving is how to make couples stay together forever. In a sense, right? That's what we are trying to key into. And so the way we're solving the problem is coming from that perspective. Other people are solving the problem like helping couples have fun. And so they're solving so their product ends up being different.
Sure.
Right. But think about it, the need we're solving, a therapist is solving that same thing. We're just solving it as a game. Well, the therapist is solving it like from the perspective of I'm counseling you. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for the time spent with us. Again, I think this will not be the last time we have you come hang out with us at the Upward Church and in our young adults group. We really appreciate your time. Can folks just unmute to say thank you to TheShofs for the time they've spent with us today? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, my friend. Seyi. Just very grateful. I'll talk with you guys. You are the best.
And
I miss you.
I'm
looking forward to seeing you soon.
I was about to say that voice.
That's Pastor.
Yeah. Looking forward to seeing you guys soon. God bless you. Thank you so much. We are very grateful.
Thank you. All right, Seyi and Abisola, this has been great. Thank you for the knowledge. Thank you for your openness and transparency with us today. And we will be in touch. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you, Baraki. Thank you so much.